Hi everyone, welcome to this video on psychic attack. This video is part of my energy protection series for empaths. Um, the reason I'm making this video is to really discuss psychic attack, what it's about, how common it actually is, why it's important for you as an empath, as an energy healer, light worker, starseed, whatever it is that you're here to do, um, why it's important for you to know about this. The goal is that through these videos, I'm hoping that I can educate you as well as empower you so that regardless of what experiences you might have on your spiritual journey, that you can stay on your journey, and you're not going to be in a place of fear and disempowerment and go off your path. So, what is psychic attack? Psychic attack is when someone sends you negative energy with the intention of doing you harm. Now, that sounds very much like kind of almost kind of paranoid, doesn't it? It sounds as if maybe that everyone's out to get us. That's not necessarily true, okay? We live in a world that is created by energy. We are energy. We carry an energetic vibration. Um, and we have the ability to manipulate energy. Now, there are two, I'll split the psychic attack into two different points, which we'll talk about. There's unintentional psychic attack, which I would say is the most common, sorry, and you have intentional psychic attack, which is it's a little less common, but probably more common than what you might think. So unintentional psychic attack is when someone sends you negative energy with the intention of doing you harm, but they don't realize what they're doing. So they don't realize that they are either sending the energy to you or that you'll be affected by that energy. And I'll discuss how this works in a second. Um, so basically, this person may be just thinking really negatively about you. They may wish you harm. There may be something about you that they dislike. Maybe you've had an argument or a falling out with someone, and they genuinely wish you ill. They wish that something bad would happen to you, or they're really jealous and they're really focusing on it. That's like an example of an unintentional psychic attack because they don't really realize what they're doing. They're just kind of caught up in their head and how they feel. They don't realize they're actually targeting you. Then there is intentional psychic attack, and that is someone who is very much aware of what they're doing with their thoughts, with their feelings, and how this manipulates their energy. They're very much aware that they can send energy, and that it will be received with the intention of doing harm. They may be using kind of curses, hexes, they may be tampering with the dark arts or the occult. It's actually more common than what you might think, especially I would say nowadays. It is becoming increasingly more common. Um, Specifically because of like I've certainly seen like a rise of it in certain groups of people, people who I would never think would be interested in like really kind of dark stuff. Have recently kind of came out and said that they've been kind of practicing for years and cursing and hexing people. So it is more common than what you think. I feel as if it is something that's has been well hidden, but it's coming out more now. The other type of intentional psychic attack is kind of from lower energies, lower entities, negative thought forms. which you may encounter on your spiritual journey if you are doing like a lot of psychic work, a lot of spiritual work. It's a little bit different. Um, but I'll go into that as we go further along in this video. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to focus on just what psychic attack is, and the symptoms that you may face if you're being attacked. In the next video, I'll talk about my experiences, and I'll also tell you how to protect yourself. So going back to how this all works, let's talk about the people who are sending energy unintentionally. So we live in a universe which is operated by several universal laws, and one of those universal laws is the law of attraction and the law of vibration. So the law of attraction is basically, in a nutshell, what we focus on will manifest, or what we focus on will grow. And so our thoughts are able to manifest into reality. We can, thoughts become things. And the way that this kind of happens is that our thoughts generate feelings, and our feelings and emotions will cause us to take action on something, even if we're not really we don't always realize that we're taking action on something. We can bring things about. We can bring certain things about depending on what we're thinking about. And this part of the way that this works is because of the law of vibration. Now, the law of vibration is more about the frequency that you are broadcasting. And whatever frequency you are broadcasting, whatever that kind of frequency is, you will attract a direct match to it. So our frequency, or our vibration, is generally kind of controlled by how we feel about things. Okay, so if you are in a really good vibration, you're feeling happy, you're feeling fulfilled, you naturally attract more of those circumstances into your reality, into your vibration. If you're kind of feeling negative, if you're feeling low, depressed, if you're feeling hopeless, you tend to attract more situations which reflect that. So when you think about the person who is maybe like sending you energy unintentionally, I want you to like maybe think about maybe like a time that you've maybe fell out with someone. I mean, you may have done this, Eve. You could have done this yourself. We're probably all guilty of sending psychic attack to someone at some point in our life, whether we want to admit it or not, because we're human beings and we have feelings, and it's normal and it's natural sometimes for us to get angry or upset with someone, and sometimes when that is our main focus, like sometimes we just can't get something out our head, we tend to, radiate that kind of emotion, and this can be, if you're kind of thinking of like someone who has done you wrong, you may think about kind of you hope that nasty things will happen to them, you hope that they'll get their comeuppance, you hope that karma will play out. All this kind of stuff, you're kind of sending a frequency. Now, depending on what frequency that person is on at that time, will depend if they receive your signal. So what tends to happen with psychic attack is that whoever is the intended target, if they are in a really good place, if they're loving life, if they're really happy and kind of elevated, then that kind of psychic attack isn't a vibrational match to where they are just now, and so it will kind of bounce off of them. Nothing really happens. However, if that person is in a low vibration, is maybe going through some stuff, maybe like some things have happened, maybe they're ill just now, maybe a relative has passed away, or they've had a breakup, or they've lost a job, or things are just generally not going well, they can be in this lower vibration, which is a energetic match to this low energy frequency. So it'll be an energetic match to the anger, to the hatred, and so that is when, you know, that kind of comes together, and this person will receive the psychic attack. And like I said, a lot of people don't really realize the power of their own mind, or um how like they can change the atmosphere around them, or how they can change their reality. Some people are so unaware of the power that they have, um, and they're, you know, just broadcasting, you know, these kind of signals. Um, so that is like an example of like the unintentional psychic attack. And like I said, also, you know, you get the intentional psychic attack. That's someone who deliberately knows what they're doing. There's kind of like a grey area in between, actually, where you'll get someone who maybe isn't totally conscious that they're sending like a psychic attack, but they are aware that that they have a presence, or that they can make someone feel uncomfortable. Like I can recall someone saying to me one time that, like, you know, if they didn't like someone, they made sure that that person knew about it, and they didn't have to say anything, they didn't have to do anything. But if they were like alone, not so much alone in the room with that person, but if they were like in a room with people, even if they were totally surrounded by other people, they could make that person feel uncomfortable. So there's like an example of like broadcasting your energy and affecting someone with, you know, your energy, your frequency. Um, so there is this grey area where people kind of know, but they don't know. They maybe know on a subconscious level, but on like a conscious level, they maybe don't understand like how it all works, and how they can affect someone. And a lot of people will do it unconsciously. A lot of people are walking about in like a really negative headspace, and they genuinely maybe don't mean it. And if they kind of took a minute to really kind of um become more aware of their thoughts and their feelings, and, you know, how they felt about things, they would maybe think about the energy that they are sending out to people. Um, so yeah, that's the kind of grey area. Um, with intentional psychic attack, like I said, that's more kind of hexes and curses and things like that. So that's someone who kind of knows what they're doing. And this is where it kind of gets a little bit more dangerous, because it's one thing to unintentionally send someone some bad energy, but when you kind of know what you're doing, you can cause a lot more destruction to that person's life. So the attack, depending on what the person's kind of psychic ability, what kind of knowledge they have around energy, around hexes, curses, that kind of things, invoking spirits. This is when a psychic attack can get particularly nasty for people. Um, and this is when they begin to experience symptoms which could be similar to a haunting. I'll go into symptoms in a minute, but for the people who are experiencing like a psychic attack which is intentional and is planned, that those are the people who are going to need a little bit more help, a little bit more protection. Um, some psychic attack, you can, like some of the stuff that I will teach during this video series, you will be able to remove yourself if you become a victim to psychic attack. But it is always good if you have got someone like a friend who is experienced in this kind of stuff, or you've got a psychic medium, someone who knows what they're working with when it comes to psychic attack. Sometimes it's better if you can just get someone to remove it for you, because when we're being attacked, a lot of the times we have entered into this, like I was saying before about how you to receive the attack, you need to be in this kind of lower negative vibration. And once you're in that lower negative vibration and you're having psychic attack, it becomes more difficult to begin to raise your vibration. And it can be like just like a spiral, where you're just kind of like gradually going downhill, and things get worse and worse and worse. So sometimes it can be good if you've got someone who knows what they're doing to kind of help with that kind of stuff. Even if it's just doing a meditation with you, a guided meditation, or just working behind the scenes distantly. A lot of the energy work that I do for people is done, from a distance. It is not always like hands-on in person, although I do that as well. But yeah, this is sometimes where you might need a bit of help, depending on your experience with psychic attack and how severe it is. Certainly when you are, what's quite common is when you are at the start of a spiritual journey and you're beginning to ascend, you're kind of developing your psychic skills, you are working more with energies, you're working with clients, you are becoming more open, you're expanding, and your light begins to shine that little bit brighter. That is usually when you can kind of get these lower negative kind of thought forms or kind of entities, particularly if you're kind of doing like astral projection. There can be these lower entities on the astral realm sometimes, which will kind of see you and kind of like go, kind of like not so much attack you, but they'll be drawn to you, in the kind of beginning stages. And a lot of the time, one of the reasons that psychic attack can take effect, remember, you've got to be in this negative vibration for it to be a match to you. One of the ways that they can get you to lower your vibration is by making you feel fear. So whether a psychic attack is intentional or not, if you receive the attack or you feel something happening, if you respond in fear, then, which is quite common, it's not, especially if this is something that's quite new to you. Psychic attack does not scare me anymore. I'll talk about my experiences in the next video, but it's something that doesn't really scare me anymore. If you can like pause and be reflective of what is happening in the moment and stay present, there is less chance of this affecting you. Because what happens when you're in fear with psychic attack, if you can like imagine like your aura, that's like the energy, like an energy bubble around you. Nothing can actually penetrate your aura, but if you are frightened enough, you can penetrate your own aura, which allows an opening for things to come through. So it's quite sneaky the way that works, lower entities and kind of parasites and things like that. It works by trying to get like a fear out of you so that you'll become, once you respond in fear, your vibration drops, they come in. Easier said than done. So if you can aim to respond in a kind of calm way, the better off you'll be. So how do you know you're under psychic attack? There is a variety of symptoms, okay? So we'll talk about some of the physical symptoms, because you've got physical symptoms, you've got emotional symptoms, and you've got spiritual symptoms. So some of the physical symptoms might just be really benign. They could be sore head, a little bit of brain fog, feeling kind of sleepy, kind of tired all of a sudden, stomach cramping, feeling sick, instant diarrhea or sickness. Some of these sound very viral, so it could be that you suddenly get sick, or you start feeling really run down and tired, and sometimes it can just be as mild as that and it passes, because it could just be unintentional, it could just be a little bit of mild psychic attack. the more extreme cases of physical symptoms can be things like bruises, marks being left on the body, scratches. Um, it can be aches and pains, to the extent where people start to experience illnesses that can't be explained, or like illnesses which are then maybe diagnosed as like a chronic illness or invisible illness. So it's something that is just kind of all of a sudden you might go from being healthy to really run down and really kind of experiencing ill health. The emotional symbol is the emotional kind of symptoms are kind of more like suddenly feeling really anxious, paranoid. You might have like no reason to be feeling that way. Just you could be just sitting one night and all of a sudden you feel a pang of anxiety. You could feel paranoid. You could feel like fearful for something. Um, Depression, bouts of kind of crying, or it could be that you start feeling angry. And then what happens is that if you are around other people, it could be that you start arguing with your family. And you're like, how the hell did this all happen? Or you start arguing with your spouse, your partner. It could even be that your children just all of a sudden start kicking off because they're affected by the energy also. Um, so that's like an example of kind of like the emotional symptoms, and it's just all very kind of strange. Or other symptoms you might have physically are like just feeling really dizzy and off balance. You may feel as if like I had one where it felt as if like I was kind of being like pushed. Like when I stood up, I was just totally out of balance. I felt as if I was kind of being pushed to like the right hand side. So it felt as if there was something here, like on this side. It just felt as if I was kind of like being shoved to the side. Um, I think that's kind of like the physical and emotional symptoms. Spiritual symptoms. These can spiritual and psychological symptoms can be more like nightmares. All of a sudden, you're having constant nightmares. Um, Sleep paralysis. Maybe having like night terrors where you could be seeing things or having some sort of hallucinations, which may not actually be hallucinations. They could be, that you're actually seeing um, something, you're being attacked. It could be like the atmosphere in the room changes or the atmosphere in your home changes. Um, Things begin to go missing. Loud noises, footsteps, it could be like strange smells, things that you would normally maybe associate with a haunting, as you wouldn't really think it is psychic attack, but sometimes like a psychic attack can also manifest as a haunting or something that might look like a poltergeist. That is not uncommon either. Um, so you can get this kind of idea. You can have kind of mild psychic attack where it might just be that all of a sudden you become really ill. Um, just the energy around you changes and you just dip. It could be that your mood dips, that you begin to experience anxiety or depression. Or it could be this opposite spectrum where you're experiencing like as if you are being haunted. Um, so that is kind of an indication of that you might be experiencing psychic attack. Another thing that can tend to happen is look at the kind of circumstances around you, where things just start going wrong. And when I say going wrong, I mean it will start to feel as if like you're just experiencing bad luck. There'll be times where like maybe things will break around the house and you need to replace them, and then suddenly it feels as if like everything is just one thing after another, so it feels as if like all your money's just frittered away. Could be that you lose money, or you start to kind of lose like things that are expensive, like you might lose your phone, or things start to break. You just start to have really bad luck, particularly around about finances and career. That usually tends to be the one that they go for. Um, it could be that you lose your job, or all this stuff starts to go wrong. Technology begins to crash. It just feels as if you can't really kind of like get a step up. Meanwhile, this is all happening, you're starting to kind of feel more fatigued, more tired, start to feel really unwell and sleepy, so it feels as if you can't really fight back against anything. You just can't, you can't get out this rut that you seem to be in, and it's like you can't climb out of it. You can't, like, it becomes very difficult to shift your mindset to begin thinking positively again, to be able to give yourself like a kick up the arse and just do things, to move forward. It just feels as if it's like one thing after another, bad luck after bad luck, tragedy after tragedy, like, that's the kind of thing. So that is usually an indication of whether or not you're experiencing a psychic attack. And if you are experiencing these things, it's a good idea to just, before you diagnose yourself as having psychic attack, because, like, let's be honest, sometimes it can be anything. Sometimes we can just get sick. Sometimes we can just have like a wee spell of bad luck and then it goes away. The best thing to do would be to kind of keep a diary of these things that are happening, and I would always go with your gut instinct. You'll know if something's up. If something just doesn't make sense to you, you'll know that that's not quite right. Sometimes sometimes the experience of psychic attack isn't subtle. Sometimes it's not subtle. I mean, like, if you suddenly become unwell, that's something that you can put down to like an ordinary circumstance, but sometimes even a little bit of bad luck, you can say, well, shit happens. Sometimes it can be a terrifying experience, like during the night where you're woken up by something, a nightmare that seems so real that it just couldn't be a dream, or an experience with an entity or a spirit that you think was a dream but wasn't a dream. That can also be an indication that you're experiencing psychic attack. So that's really what psychic attack is, and like I said, it's all about how you respond. If you respond in fear, the kind of worse it gets. However, if you respond with courage, if you can be logical about this, if you can kind of be in the present moment and kind of just slow your mind down and take yourself into a place of power. There are loads of ways you can protect yourself or kind of call in help when you're under psychic attack, and I will go into these in more detail in another video. But the important thing to remember is that we are all energy. Even if you're being attacked by an entity, or you're experiencing like a severe attack, the important thing to remember is that it's just energy, and energy can be neutralized, energy can be changed, and it's a case of if you can realize this, and you can like overcome this, if you can really believe in yourself that you are powerful, because we are all source energy, we're all powerful beings. Sometimes we lose sight of that fact, that we are powerful creators, that we can actually change our energy immediately, we can change our vibration immediately, and we can overcome whatever it is that's happening. If you can remember that, you are already winning. So all this can really do is attempt to intimidate you, and try and like push you down. But if you can remain in a place of power, if you can remember that you are a powerful being, you are source energy, everything is energy and energy can be changed, then you've totally got this. So that is my basic description of what psychic attack is. That's kind of like the breakdown of what it is, the symptoms, and what that might look like. If you join me in the next video, I'll be talking about my own psychic attacks experiences. I've had quite a number of experiences. Quite a lot have actually happened within the past year. So I'll talk about that in more detail because I want to highlight how every psychic attack experience might not be the same, and they can change in depending on who is sending you psychic attack and their own abilities. You get a different variety of, I've had like a number of different types. So you'll see like this, that some have been severe, some have been not so severe, and how I've coped with them. And then I'll look at giving you some techniques so that you can protect your energy and prevent psychic attack happening in the first place. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video.